Hi everyone and welcome to a new video. Today I have a Dell OptiPlex 5090 SFF here in front of me, and during this video we'll first take a good look at this machine, then I will completely disassemble it, reassemble it, and eventually I'll perform some basic benchmarks. The goal is to have a decent idea on how this machine looks like, both external and internal, how to upgrade it and how well it performs. The Dell OptiPlex 5090 is part of the Series 6 mainstream series of desktops and got released around June 2021. Initially, it was available with 10th generation Intel Core CPUs, just as this one, which is equipped with a Core i5 10500, but later models also came with 11th generation i5 and i7 CPUs, so that might be something to consider if you're looking to upgrade your machine like this. As you can see, design-wise, this is a typical small form factor, no-nonsense, business-oriented machine. It has all you need, nothing more, nothing less. The machine can be used as a classic desktop model, meaning in a horizontal position, but also has feet on the left side, so can be used standing up like a small tower model as well. If we take a good look at the front, we can see a bezel for an optional optical drive, one USB 3 port, a USB-C 3 port, still two USB 2 ports, slot for optional SD card reader, audio, drive activity LED, and power button. After turning over the PC, we can see the connections on the back, and we have audio, 2x DisplayPort, more USB 3 and USB 2 ports, Gigabit Ethernet, and finally the power connector. To open up the machine, we need to slide this blue latch to the right, and then we can remove the top cover. Inside, we have the CPU fan, with CPU underneath of course, a 200 watt power supply, drive cage, and memory under there. Let us start the disassembly by removing the drive cage. Before we can do that, we need to remove the front cover first, like this. Then we can unlock the drive cage itself by sliding this locking mechanism towards the back of the PC. After getting the cables loose, we can get the cage out. It has space for a 3.5-inch drive on top and can also hold the optical drive on the bottom. I guess you can also easily put a 2.5-inch SSD in there if you would like to. Now let me get that single memory DIMM out there as well. 8GB of DDR4 is what was installed here. After disconnecting the CPU fan, we can also remove it. It's held in place on top of the heatsink with 4 screws. Once these got removed, we can take it off and reveal that heatsink. I'll take that one out later. Next, I will disconnect the remaining cables from the motherboard, starting with these two unused SATA cables. Then power for SATA, which runs through the motherboard here. There is a small metal frame that makes the case a bit more sturdy, and to continue I need to get that one out first, as it runs above the power cables. After disconnecting the speaker, those power cables are coming out next. First the 6-pin power input for the motherboard, then the 2 additional 4-pin power connectors for the CPU. Finally, in the corner here, we can also disconnect the power button. Now that everything is disconnected, let's do an attempt to get the motherboard out of the case. I'm starting by removing the 4 screws that fix it to the bottom. After those, we also need to remove the heatsink from the CPU, as it is fixed through the motherboard to the case as well, so keeping you from removing the board. Even that didn't completely get the board loose. We will still need to get this bracket out, which fixes the front ports, And even after that, before we can get the board fully out, we'll also need to remove the screw that holds the tiny M.2 SSD in place. That's better. Let's take a good look at the power supply now as well. It can deliver up to 200 watt, as you can see, so that should be sufficient for this machine, even with a low profile GPU in there. Good options for that would be a GTX 1650 or RX 6400, for example. I cleaned up the remaining thermal paste on both the CPU and heatsink, and the only part that's left to disassemble is to remove the CPU from the motherboard. As mentioned, my machine has an i5 10500. It has 6 cores, 12 threads, and runs at a base frequency of 3.1 GHz but can boost up to 4.5. Together with its 12 MB of cache, this CPU won't be performing poorly. Now back to the motherboard, and let us take a good look at it. You might have noticed that this is pretty much a custom form factor, as it has those front ports tailored to the case and also has proprietary power input. Moving this board to another case or replacing the board with another model in this case will not be easy. The board itself has a CPU socket in the middle, 4 DDR4 DIMM slots and 2 channels, 3 SATA ports, M.2 for SATA or NVMe SSDs, M.2 for wireless, room for another M.2, which is not in use on the 10th generation Intel Core CPUs apparently. Here we also have PCIe X4 and X16, the CMOS battery, 6-pin power input, 2x4-pin power in, power out for SATA, speaker, SD card reader, power switch, CPU fan, intrusion detection, proprietary video connector, and a serial port connector. Let's get everything back together now, and the first thing we need to do is to put that board back in the case and get it fixed. Then we can get the CPU back in place as well. And close the socket. After applying some fresh thermal paste, I can also reinstall the heatsink and fix that one to the case. This plastic frame should improve the airflow, and it is supposed to go over the additional screw holes on that heatsink. Just like this. Then we can place back the actual fan and get it fixed to those holes. Once that is done, we shouldn't forget to connect the fan back as well. Classic mistake. Now for the memory. We have 4 slots here. DIMM 3, 1, 4 and 2. So a single DIMM goes in the second slot from the top. Next up is that tiny M.2 NVMe SSD. First we need to put back the stando screw. Then we can insert the SSD in the M.2 slot and fix it to that screw. We're almost there. Let me put back the metal bracket that improves case strength and also the one that fixes the front ports. The power switch is next, followed by the power connectors. After guiding the cables nicely, we can connect the 2 4-pin connectors then the 6-pin one here in front. The speaker needs to be connected as well, and then we can put back the SATA cables, which are actually not in use in this configuration. As mentioned, power for SATA runs through the motherboard here, so we need to connect this one as well. Finally, we can reinstall the drive cage and guide the cables for the SATA drives nicely to it. There we go. All that's left is to put back the front cover, which simply clips back in place. And then we can close up the machine completely. It's time to bring this to the test and see if everything is still functional after the reassembly. I've got everything connected, so let's power up the machine and press F12 to display the boot options. A nice boot menu appears. On the left side here we could choose how to boot the system, but now instead let me go to the BIOS setup. In the overview screen we can see a summary of the hardware we have. We can see our i5 10500 CPU, 8GB of DDR4 and the rest of the installed hardware. The storage section displays that the 256GB NVMe drive got detected properly as well. Other than that, this BIOS setup is pretty clear and clean and user-friendly, but still offers plenty of options. This is not always the case for these kind of machines, so that's nice to see. Let's exit the BIOS setup and let the machine boot into Windows 11 now. First thing here is to look at about this PC. Not that this teaches us something extra at this point, but it kind of became a tradition to look at this before we start with anything else. All looks fine, as expected. So let's move to Task Manager. Here as well, nothing new. We can see the 12 individual threads active on the CPU, the memory, and the SSD. I guess it's time to start our first benchmark, Geekbench 5. Unfortunately, the screen capture got corrupted during this test, but the camera kept working. As a result, we get 1140 single core and almost 4000 for multi-core. If we compare this to some other machines that I tested, we can see that performance here gets close to the previous generation i5 CPUs or some older i7 CPUs as well. Kind of what we could expect. Now let's do the same with the newer Geekbench 6. $1,510 single and 3,569 multi-core. Again, as with Geekbench 5, I would say that this is perfectly as expected. Next up is that tiny M.2 NVMe SSD. I'll put this one to the test with AGA system test. After setting the file size to 4GB, let's see what this gives. 1019 megabytes per second write and 2208 megabytes per second read. Nice performance. Not the best you can get from an NVMe drive, but more than good enough for this machine for sure. All in all, this small PC is performing pretty good. One more thing which I noticed while playing around with this machine is that it is booting super fast into Windows. Not sure which kind of optimization is done here, but as you will see, it only takes a few seconds from being completely powered down till we get here. Some machines don't even manage to get through the power on self-test in this time. That was all I have for this video. Thanks a lot for watching. If you have any questions or remarks or you have a machine like this, always welcome in the comments. If you have liked this video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up, and if you're interested in more of the same, don't hesitate to subscribe to my channel and enable notifications. Thanks again and hope to see you back here soon.